Welcome back. Starting your calves off right is extremely important, and today we're talking with the experts from Land O'Lakes Purina Feed about starting programs and increasing your herd's profitability. And you can start as early as this summer. Dr. Helt, I want to turn to you and ask the question, what can we be doing this summer to prepare for weaning for those ranch-raised calves?
You know, I think the first thing we need to consider right now is just a basic mineral program. We've talked about how important health is, and that's pretty critical in the whole success of this. And so I think we need to make sure the herd has a good, balanced mineral program. And then we need to do a little math and make sure they're eating the mineral and not just putting it out. So I think we need to consider that. The economics right now are pretty important from a pound standpoint. So I think another way we could add some revenue to the ranch is think about creep feeding and the pounds we can put on there. And that also helps us with the transition and intake part of things, getting those cattle to eat. And one last thing I think we really need to consider, depending on where you're at, is the forage base. Ted's talked about that. Do we have enough forage? Are we going to have enough forage for a couple months from now? And really consider early weaning. If I'm really limited on that grass resource, we've been very successful in being able to do that with 350, 400-pound calves. And so consider that forage base, consider your moisture, and think about early weaning. That sure could be a viable option for a lot of people.
Ted, what would you add?
Well, I think when we, like Dr. Helt said, the mineral program, let's get down to basics. Let's get the cows what they need to make sure that they're in good shape. And then the creep feeding is really important, or just if you're not going to fully creep feed, just start later in the season to get those calves used to the feeder, because where they are now, they don't have feed or commercial feed. They're used to eating grass and off of mama. So if we can get stuff out there, just a really palatable creep feed, just a short term, get them used to going to a feeder, something mechanical, something that's different from mom, but also make sure that they're, and we watch the mineral intake, it's going to climb, like Dr. Helt said. You know, do some calculations. We want the cows to eat 4 ounces. It's really nice at that time when you see a lot of calves at that mineral feeder. If our mineral intake goes up 5 or 6 ounces, that's good, because everything that's good for mom in that minerals will help build the immune status of that calf. So when we go into our vaccination programs, if we're going to vaccinate before weaning, we've got a high immune status in that calf already, and all the material is there, and all the building blocks to build those titers are there when we give them to that calf. The other thing is we need to do everything as we prepare for weaning to try to reduce the amount of stress that those calves had, so that they go into that weaning phase as healthy as possible. And with the getting started on feed so that they know what commercial feed is, and a good vaccination program will help get them to that weaning phase as healthy as possible, so we can get them through and on feed as quickly as possible.
Dr. Scott, as we look to the future, what do you see coming down the pike in terms of additional products or programs for this critically important starting phase?
Yeah, well, there's a couple things that are kind of different on how we look at it, and I think the one that's the most overlooked is this. As cattlemen, we're always concerned with this calf when it hits the ground and we see it, but we have to remember the big words of fetal programming. And the information from universities definitely indicates that if we provide proper nutrition to that developing fetus, it influences the health of that calf after they're born into the feed yard phase. So improper or proper nutrition, whatever that is, the industry's still trying to figure that out. It definitely shows that you can influence the health of that calf in the feed yard by what mama was fed. It's amazing. It's just amazing.
I was going to say, I wish we had more time, because I'd love to go into more detail. Maybe that'll be the subject of one of our other programs. As you think about this critical phase, do we know everything that we need to know about weaning, or do you think that there's a need for continued research in this area?
Well, there's need for continued research, and the reason why is that the more that we learn, we realize that there's a lot that we still don't know, because it's just opened up a whole new world to us on what to look at. For example, we have a project along with our other species groups in our company looking at ways that we can help improve how cattle or pigs or whatever, how they respond to a vaccination program. And so we're screening different compounds to help in that phase. So that's a big deal for us, and exciting too. You know, I've learned a lot in that area. You know, we find out that the immune response is very similar across different species of animals. It's pretty fascinating. And then the other item is this: education. You know, we're up here talking to everybody. It's so important that we understand how to communicate and know how to respond to what people want, because there are different needs out there. We have customers who feed complete feed, and we have customers that feed 5 pounds, and we're trying to fit something for them that's something that they need, that's going to return a good profit for them.